Okay guys, so Tesla released the latest Autopilot update specifically for Autopilot 2.x. This is 10.4, 2018 10.4, which introduces a major upgrade to Autopilot. And a lot of people have made videos already about this. I just didn't get a chance to make a video, but I do want to make a video just to talk about what's happening here and what they've changed to make this so much better than before. Okay, so one of the things that they've changed most notably is the way that they're handling lane detection. That's effectively what the majority of this update entails, is updates to how they detect lane markings and whether the car is in the lane. So what you'll notice improved in this particular version, and even improved over Autopilot 1, is how well the car sees the lane markings and recognizes the lane markings for what they are, even when they're not as visible as they should be. And I think that's the major update. Tesla has always used a single camera. With the front-facing camera, they've always used the single camera, and that's been the wide-angle camera for the Autopilot 2 hardware, and obviously Autopilot 1 only had one camera. So they've been using that going forward. They have not activated the remainder of the cameras to add data. They wanted to start with just one camera. So that's what they've done. Based on that one camera, they've now tweaked their coding, their programming, their algorithms, if you will, to be able to detect lane markings way better than it has before. And as you see the lane markings fade, you'll also start to see them being, again, more detectable from the car's perspective. It sees the lane markings very well, and as I'm in the middle lane, it sees both the left and right lanes to that lane very well, and it doesn't break the line. You don't see instances where the lane markings would fade, and you'd see that in the instrument cluster, which would give the Autopilot system less confidence and cause it to disengage or cause it to tell you that it needs hands on the wheels or whatever the case may be. So what they've effectively done with this release is they've enhanced the car's ability to see the lane markings. This is the first step. This is also the first step in releasing some enhanced Autopilot features. I wouldn't be surprised if the next step from here would be showing the cars in the adjacent lanes, now that they've rewritten the programming to handle lane markings so well using just one camera, bringing it to full parity with Autopilot 1.0 in my opinion. But right now, as it stands, it handles lanes incredibly well. I don't think the centering is any different. I think what's happened before and what people have seen is that the lane markings weren't as confident in the UI. And as a result of that, some lanes would fade away, causing the car to ping pong. So when the car sees a single line, it gravitates to that single line. If it sees two lines, it tries to stay centered in those two lines. If it sees no lines, it's supposed to track the car in front of it. And if there's no car in front of it, it's going to prompt you to disengage, or it's going to try to seek the line. So what we've noticed before when people have complained about Autopilot 2 is that it ping-pongs back and forth. That's just simply lack of visibility into the lane markings, not having confidence in its ability to see the lane markings properly. And what we're seeing with this one is an increased ability to see the lane markings dramatically over previous versions. As you see, the lane markings are sort of fading out, but the car is still seeing it. It's not fading out from the car's perspective because the car is still seeing it. Okay, so this is what we're getting right now with this version. It's incredible. It's super smooth, super confidence-inspiring to know that the car can see in the lanes, and we have no problems. We have no issues, no ping-ponging back and forth. However, there is still room for improvement. The car does slightly lean to the right sometimes. It leans to the right sometimes, gravitates to the right, it has to catch itself and pull itself back, but this is a huge improvement over the previous iterations of Autopilot 2.x Tesla Vision version of Autopilot. So that's what's happened so far. Hopefully they'll continue to iterate on this and make it better and not regress features. But right now it's great. I've seen some videos, people doing, odd tests, testing narrow roads, 2-lane highways, undivided lanes, local streets, sharp turns. That's not the best use case for this because that's not what this is intended for right now. Tesla would definitely agree to that. But the idea is that for highway driving, this is what it's intended to do. It's very relaxing now, driving on the highways. And what you'll notice as well is it tracks the lanes so well, it also tracks wider lanes. So as the lanes contract and expand, depending on the different interstates you're on, it'll track lanes much wider than it could before. The tolerance for the lane width is much wider than even on Autopilot 1, tracking lanes very wide and also tracking lanes very narrow. Narrow are use cases where Autopilot 1 was excelling. It could also do that, but when it got to a certain width, Autopilot 1.0 probably the field of view of the camera that it uses is not able to see that far, and doesn't track the wider lanes for the car. This new Tesla Vision system uses the wide angle camera in the middle, and that's the one that's going to be able to track the wider lanes. So what you see is wider lanes being recognized, narrow lanes being recognized, and just a truly better overall performance. So overall, what this update has done is it has effectively increased the car's ability to detect lanes, and that's what you should also take away from this. Nothing more, no stop signs, no pedestrian recognition, no on and off ramp taking, no recognition of speed limits, or at least adherence to speed limits to any degree. I know there's some construction zone scenarios going on. Again, those are all feeding into lane markings. So if there's no lane markings, or if cones or something else is defining a lane, that's what the system is reading, and that's what effectively is causing this update to be so good. So kudos to Tesla for this update. Looking forward to many, many more updates as you start to venture into enhanced autopilot, auto on-ramp and off-ramp, as well as auto lane change based on the mapping features. And I know Tesla's supposed to be releasing some new maps or new map functionality. Hopefully that'll tie into the autopilot and make it that much more of a pleasurable experience. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that we're not forgetting about AP1 totally. For those who have AP1 cars, Autopilot 1, we're still including some of those features and updates for them as well. So hopefully this was beneficial to you. You found this useful. Looking forward to the rest of the updates. Leave your comments below, and we'll talk again soon.